Hey everybody, I'm Steve Smith, founder of Thoughtful Technologies. I worked in corporate for about 25 years and left about 10 years ago to start my own software company. I wanted to jump on here and talk a little bit about a series that I want to create. This is going to be the first episode, if you will, for my experience in building a software app. So I recently released our company's first flagship product, Bluetivity, and as I mentioned, I started a software company about 10 years ago. It literally took me probably close to 10 years to develop the product that I wanted to release into the world. So arguably I could have released something sooner, but wanted to take a little bit of a different approach and release the product once it was actually done. The product is a productivity app based on my experience in the corporate world for the last 25 years or so. All the things that I learned along the way, and all of the things that I felt were inefficiencies in the corporate world, really for any business, actually. I know there's a lot of commonly accepted ways of going about a lot of the administrivia today in today's business world. And a lot of that drove me nuts, quite frankly. I think that there's a lot more efficiencies to be had through software that's actually aligned with a business. I think the fact that many companies are still using email and spreadsheets and Word Doc and Google Doc and Google Sheets, while they may serve their purpose to a degree, I think the larger the organization, the more inefficiency that comes with using those approaches. So I went ahead and built an app that I felt really kind of shored up a lot of those administrative processes. And if you'd like to check it out, it's at www.thoughtfultechnologies.com, and all the product information is out there. But I wanted to start a series. I've talked to a lot of people along the way over the course of the last 10 years of, hey, what are you working on? What are you doing? Oh, I'm building an app. Oh, I'd love to build an app. I have an idea for an app. And obviously it's a popular concept. And obviously today there are also some apps that'll help you build an app. So those are possibilities as well if you're trying to build minimum viable product, if you will, to get your concept out there. And certainly some folks I think are operating apps off of those apps, and they're happy with that, and that meets their needs, and that's perfect. So for me in particular, and what I wanted to build, because again I started about 10 years ago, some of those options weren't available to me, and for what I wanted to build, I didn't really want to be limited by that ecosystem or what those particular tools would afford me for the concept that I wanted to pursue. So I wanted to talk for this first episode, if you will, about what's involved in creating an app and what's the very first thing you should do. And the good news is you need a pencil and a piece of paper. So in order to really start off on the right foot, I would argue and submit to you that building an app is much like building a house. So I've heard of stories. I heard a story one time of a lady that built an entire house herself based off of YouTube. And I guess I'm similar to that in that I built an entire app based off of YouTube, as well as a few other avenues that I pursued. But in the event that you have a project ahead of you, and in this case, like I said, you're trying to build an app, and you need to consider that it's no different than building a house. So if you're going to build the house yourself, or the app, if you will, in this particular case, either way, if you're going to build it yourself or if you're going to hire someone to build it, you obviously need something like a blueprint that can communicate to yourself or to someone else what the house is supposed to look like. Is it supposed to have a basement? Is it 2-car, 3-car garage? Is it attached? Is it detached? Are there 3 bedrooms? Are there 4 bedrooms? Is it a multi-level house? Is it a ranch style house? So many of those types of concepts are very transferable to building an app. So a lot of what comes into play, at least initially, is what are the screens going to look like and what are you expecting them to look like? Is there a login? Is there a password reset? Is a login required? Are you trying to just build a website, or are you trying to build a sophisticated app, or even a simplistic app, but you still want those mechanisms like a login, a user ID, forgot user ID, forgot password, all of those different types of things, are those required? And they're very trivial things on the surface, but there are requirements associated with whatever app it is you're trying to build. And then above and beyond that, what are the screens going to look like? Where do you want the buttons to be? What type of data are you trying to collect? Should you have a database on the back end that retains all of that data? Are there reporting mechanisms or administrator functions that you want associated with that system? So there's a lot involved, even on a simplistic level. So the thing is that when I say there's a lot involved, what I mean to say is that it's absolutely possible. I don't mean to discourage anybody in any way. I think that I did it. Anybody can do it. It takes the right amount of planning and the right amount of steps. I do believe that part of the reason it took me as long as it did was I was legitimately trying to figure it out myself based off of what's on the internet. And it's an ocean of information on the internet. It's almost that there's too much information. Some of it's good, some of it's not. Just like everything else in the world, you've got to kind of filter through and try to understand what the data is that you're looking at, and does it help you with the objective that you're trying to achieve. So the very first step, like I said, is a pencil and a piece of paper. It's ideation. It's what is this app going to do? What do you want it to look like? How many different screens, if you will, should it have? And then what ultimately are you trying to achieve? I think that honestly, based on my experience in the last 35 years of my career, if you will, that this step is often overlooked because a lot of the apps that we use today, I know a lot of people are like, what do they ever sit with anybody and figure out what it is we're trying to use this for? I would argue no, not in a lot of cases. But for me personally, and the way I went about building my app and the app that I've released is really trying to get all the requirements on paper. And what is it I'm trying to build? What are the screens supposed to look like? What am I ultimately trying to achieve? And the great news is that all that takes is a pencil and a piece of paper. The tougher news is that it's actually a lot harder than it sounds. And for me personally, as I went along and built the app, some of the things I didn't think of along the way, I was like, oh yeah, I need to account for that. Oh yeah, I didn't think of that. So there are going to be things that everyone's not going to consider right off the bat, and that's totally fine. But you just need a starting point, because in the event that you're not building it yourself and you're going to hand it to a developer, they need some context, as I mentioned, like with a house, with a blueprint, they need some context of what it is you're expecting so that they can meet your requirements and ultimately you're happy with the output. So just something, this is episode 1 of really what's to be considered. And, that's where you should start. It doesn't take a technical person. It just takes a fair amount of thought and planning and just requirements gathering on the front end. And that's step 1. So that kind of does it for this episode. So the next episode, we'll talk about what comes next. So thanks for joining, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.